My beloved child, if you are seeing this in April or May or June, if this message has found you in any of these 3 months, then you need to understand something immediately. This is not a coincidence. The arrival of this message in your life during this specific 3-month window is not random, not algorithmic, not the result of a recommendation system operating without divine oversight. I arranged this. I directed this. I placed this exactly where it would reach you at exactly the time that it needed to reach you, because what is happening in the heavens during this specific window is directly connected to what is about to happen in your life. April, May, and June form a season, a spiritually designated quarter of the year in which I am moving with unusual power and speed in the lives of those who are positioned to receive. Not everyone who encounters this message will be positioned in the same way. But the ones who feel the resonance, the ones for whom something deep and internal says, yes, this is speaking to me, are among those who are specifically positioned for what this season carries. What does this season carry? It carries acceleration. It carries the catching up of what has been behind, the breaking through of what has been stuck, the arrival of what has been in transit for far too long. For people who have been in seasons of waiting, of preparation, of endurance, this 3-month window is the season when the preparation ends and the arrival begins. Not necessarily all at once, not necessarily dramatically and visibly in the first week, but the direction of things shifts, the trajectory bends, the movement that has been imperceptible becomes perceptible. The provisions that have been forming in the spiritual realm begin to manifest in the natural. You are seeing this because you are one of those people, because the season is here. Because what I have been preparing in your life has reached the point of readiness for the first significant expressions of manifestation to arrive. And because I needed you to know that what you are about to experience is not random good fortune. It is a sign of a season, a sign of my faithfulness, a sign that the waiting was not wasted, a sign that the story is turning. What April, May, and June represent spiritually. My beloved child, let me speak to you about what this 3-month window represents from a spiritual standpoint, because understanding the nature of the season changes how you navigate it and how fully you receive what it carries. April is the month of new beginnings, not in a generic metaphorical sense, but in the specific sense that it is the month in which things that have been dormant, held, or delayed begin to stir and emerge. In the natural world, April is the season of the first growth after winter, the breaking of the frozen ground, the emergence of what was planted in the darkness of the cold season, the first visible evidence that life persisted through the difficulty and is now moving toward its expression. In the spiritual world, April carries this same quality. What has been planted in the seasons of difficulty and waiting begins to stir in April. The first shoots of the coming harvest appear. The first movements of what will become significant provision start to become visible. May is the month of momentum, the period when what began in April gains speed and strength. The first shoots become stalks. The initial movements become trends. The beginning of a provision season becomes an established flow. If April is the moment the door opens, May is the moment you walk through it with increasing confidence. If April is when the fire is lit, May is when it begins to burn with real heat. The momentum that builds in May is what carries through the rest of the year. It is the spiritual inertia of a person in their receiving season, moving forward with the weight of blessing behind them. June is the month of full entry, when the person steps fully and completely into the reality of the season they are in. The transformation that began as a stirring, that gained momentum through the middle period, becomes the settled reality of a new chapter. The provision that was arriving becomes the new normal. The financial shift that was announced becomes the operating reality of daily life. By June, the person who received the sign in April and engaged fully with the season has moved from the edge of their breakthrough into the interior of it. Not finished, not completed, life is always a moving story, but settled in the new season in a way that allows the next phase to begin from a higher platform. This is the trajectory of the April, May, June window for you. And you are seeing this message, whether in April, May, or June, at the exact point in this trajectory where you need the specific revelation it carries. If you are in April, you are being shown the stirring and called to recognize and engage with it. If you are in May, you are being equipped for the momentum phase, for the forward movement that requires courage, sustained faith, and active engagement. If you are in June, you are receiving confirmation that the entry is real and that the transformation is settled. Wherever you are in the window, the message is the same. The sign is real, the season is here, and what you do in response to both will determine the fullness of what you receive from the season. Comment now. I see the sign. I am in the April, May, June season of my breakthrough, and I receive it fully. You write this as your declaration of recognition and alignment with the season you are in. Are the signs within the sign. My beloved child, the fact that you are seeing this in April, May, or June is itself a sign, but within that larger sign, there are smaller signs that I want to help you recognize. Recognizing signs is one of the most important spiritual skills you can develop because signs are how I communicate direction, confirmation, and encouragement to people who are paying attention. Missing signs is one of the most common ways people drift from the path I have illuminated for them. What are the signs within the sign? Let me name several. The first sign within the sign is the unusual sense of expectation you may have been carrying recently. A feeling that something is about to change, that something significant is coming, that your circumstances are on the edge of a shift. This expectation is not manufactured by wishful thinking. It arrives in the spirit before the mind has any logical reason to support it. If you have been experiencing this kind of ambient expectation, particularly during these 3 months, it is a sign. It is my spirit communicating to your spirit that the season has arrived. The second sign within the sign is the acceleration of small provision. In the season before a major financial breakthrough, there are typically signs of acceleration in smaller provisions. Small, unexpected receipts, minor windfalls, bills that are lower than expected, circumstances that save money without you engineering them. These small provisions are not the breakthrough itself. They are the early indicators of the provision season that is opening. They are the spiritual equivalent of advance payment, the first installments of what is on its way. Watch for them. Give thanks for them, because gratitude for small provision is one of the conditions that opens the channel for larger provision to follow. The third sign within the sign is the appearance of the right people at the right times. In the breakthrough season, the divine appointments I described in the previous section begin to multiply. Connections form that seem too well timed to be accidental. People appear in your path with exactly the information, the opportunity, the resource, or the encouragement you needed. These encounters are orchestrated. They are the angels of provision working in the natural realm, moving the right people into your path at the right moments. The fourth sign within the sign is clarity where there was confusion. The provision season is typically preceded by a period of unusual clarity, a clearing of the mental and spiritual fog that the preparation season often involves. Decisions that seemed murky become clear. Directions that seemed uncertain become definite. The path ahead, which had been partially obscured, suddenly becomes visible. If you are experiencing this kind of increased clarity in the current period, it is a sign that the season of action has arrived, that the time for waiting is ending and the time for clear, decisive, faith-filled movement forward is beginning. Comment now. I recognize the signs within the sign, and I respond with faith and gratitude. This declaration is your acknowledgement of the multi-layered communication that I am using to guide you into your breakthrough season. And in the first pinned comment today, there is a gift for the person who sees the sign and wants the tools to step fully into the season it announces. The Code of Divine Inheritance. How to activate the abundance that is already yours. This resource will show you how to activate, receive, and steward the inheritance that the April, May, June season is carrying for you. Go to the first pinned comment. Receive this gift. The season is open and the tools for navigating it are available. Now, what to do in each month of the sign season. My beloved child, let me give you specific practical spiritual guidance for how to navigate each month of the sign season, because understanding the character of each month allows you to engage with it in the way that maximizes what it offers. In April, the month of new beginnings, your primary posture and practice should be one of attentiveness and declaration. Attentiveness. Paying close attention to the stirrings, the initial movements, the first small signs of what is arriving. Not anxious scrutiny, but alert, faith-filled attention. The attention of someone who knows that the first movements of the breakthrough season may be subtle, and who is committed to recognizing them rather than missing them. Declaration. speaking the reality of the new season into the atmosphere of your life, declaring daily that the old season is ending and the new one is beginning, that the dormant is stirring, that the preparation is giving way to provision. In April, the seed that the declaration plants in the spiritual atmosphere becomes the shoot that emerges in May. In May, the month of momentum, your primary posture and practice should be one of action and perseverance. Action, taking the steps of faith that the signs and the clarity of April pointed you toward, moving through the open doors, pursuing the connections that were illuminated, making the decisions that the clarity demanded. May is not a month for continued contemplation. It is a month for decisive, faith-anchored movement, perseverance, maintaining the forward momentum even when individual steps are difficult or when progress seems slower on a given day than it did the day before. The momentum of May is built through consistent daily engagement, not through occasional large efforts followed by long periods of rest. Keep moving, keep declaring, keep trusting. In June, the month of full entry, your primary posture and practice should be one of receiving and establishing. Receiving, fully, gratefully, without minimization or over-analysis, the provisions and breakthroughs that the season has built toward. Not rushing past them to the next thing, but pausing to acknowledge them, give thanks for them, and allow them to fully land in your life. Establishing, creating practices, habits, and structures in June that make the new reality sustainable rather than temporary. The person who enters the provision season without establishing the practices that support ongoing abundance often receives and then gradually drifts back to what they knew before. June is the month to build the foundations of the new season, in your spiritual practices, in your financial habits, in your relational investments, that make the transformation permanent. Comment now. I engage with each month of the sign season with the posture it requires. I am aligned. This declaration is your commitment to the month-appropriate engagement that maximizes what the April-May-June window carries for you. Why you cannot miss this and return later. My beloved child, I spoke the warning at the beginning of this message. It's a sign, and I want to develop that now because the urgency of the sign matters enormously. A sign by its nature is time-specific. Signs do not have indefinite availability. A road sign directing you toward a specific turn is only relevant in the moments when you are approaching that turn. It loses its directional value once you have passed the junction. A weather sign indicating the arrival of a storm is most useful before the storm arrives. After the fact, it is merely historical information. In the same way, the sign I am giving you today is most powerful in its signaling function when you receive it and act on it within the window it announces. The April-May-June window is the window. You are in it. The sign has been given. The question is whether you will act within the window or receive the information about the window without engaging with it in the time when engagement produces the fullest result. I am not saying that if you fail to act now, all opportunity is lost forever. I am saying that the level of alignment, the degree of open provision, the width of the door that is currently available, these things are at their maximum right now and in the weeks immediately ahead. Missing this window does not mean you never receive the breakthrough. It means you receive it later, at a lesser level of fullness, through a longer and more difficult process, without the accelerated momentum that characterizes the season you are in. The enemy, of course, understands this, and his primary strategy in this window is delay, getting you to put off engagement, to respond to this message with, "I'll come back to this later," to exit the window before you have received what is available within it. He does not need to persuade you that the breakthrough is not coming. He only needs to persuade you to wait a little while longer, to stay in the preparation posture a little while longer, to not quite step into the receiving posture just yet. Resist this strategy. Engage now, declare now, receive now, go to the first pinned comment now, not after you have finished other things, not when you have more time, now. Because you are in the sign season and the season will not wait indefinitely for your engagement. Comment now. I will not miss this window. I engage now and receive the fullness of the sign season. Write this with urgency and with faith. This is your commitment to acting within the window rather than exiting it prematurely. And in the first pinned comment today, go now. The code of divine inheritance, how to activate the abundance that is already yours, is there, placed specifically for the person in the sign season who needs the tools to activate the fullness of what the season carries. And the membership invitation is also there. the invitation to receive the deeper messages, to walk this journey at a closer level, to be part of the community that is navigating this season together. Both are in the first pinned comment. Receive both. Receive them now. Gain the testimony that comes after the sign season. My beloved child, I want to end this message with a vision of what comes after the sign season. The testimony that is being built in these 3 months. The story that will be told when you look back on this period. Looking back from a future vantage point, you will see this season as the turning point. The 3 months where everything shifted. The period that, in retrospect, you will identify as the exact time when your financial life began its transformation, when the long preparation ended, when the first significant breakthroughs arrived, when the trajectory of your circumstances bent permanently toward a better direction. You will remember the sign, the fact that you saw this message, the moment you felt the resonance and recognized it as real, the choice you made to stay, to engage, to declare, to go to the first pinned comment and receive what was placed there. You will remember that in this moment, you chose to believe rather than dismiss, to act rather than delay, to trust rather than protect yourself with cynicism, and you will be grateful, not just for what you received, though you will be deeply grateful for the material transformation that resulted, but for the moment of encounter with a living God who met you in a video, in a scroll, in a pause that almost didn't happen. A God who knew your name and your season and your need, and who arranged the delivery of exactly the right word at exactly the right time. A God who signed the message, "It's a sign," and meant every word of it. This is the testimony that is being written in these 3 months. Make it a good one. Engage fully. Receive completely. And then tell the story when the time comes. To the people who need to hear that what I did for you, I can do for them. Comment now, one final time. This is my sign season. I receive everything God has prepared. I will tell the story of what He does. This is your final declaration, the commitment to full engagement in the sign season and to the testimony that follows. Now go to the first pinned comment. Everything you need is there. Your season is here. Walk into it fully. And the kingdom law of overflow. My beloved child, there is a principle that governs the economy of heaven that I want to speak to you about today, a law that, when fully understood and properly engaged with, changes the entire experience of financial life in ways that go far beyond any single provision or breakthrough. I call it the law of overflow. It operates on a simple but profound principle. In my kingdom, provision is not designed to merely satisfy need. It is designed to overflow. Every resource I release into a person's life is calculated not for sufficiency, but for abundance, for the specific kind of abundance that not only meets the need of the receiver, but has surplus remaining for the overflow into the lives of others. When the children of Israel were in the wilderness, I provided manna. But I did not provide exactly enough manna for each day. I provided enough that when they gathered according to their families, they found that everyone had what they needed and there was none left over. This was not accidental. It was the daily re-establishment of the principle that my provision is precisely calibrated, not running out and not resulting in waste, but landing exactly at the point of sufficiency without shortchanging anyone. And when the abundant seasons came, when the land flowed with milk and honey, the principle was the same but at a different level. More than enough, with room to share. This overflow design is not incidental to my character, it is central to it. I am a God of more than enough because more than enough is what creates the conditions for generosity, and generosity is one of the most powerful expressions of my nature available through human beings. When you operate in overflow, when you have more than you need, rather than barely what you need, you have the capacity to be generous. And generosity is one of the most transformative spiritual forces available in the human experience. It transforms the giver. It transforms the receiver. It transforms the spiritual atmosphere of any community in which it operates. The provision that is coming to you, the breakthrough you are standing at the threshold of, is overflow provision. Not barely enough. Not grudgingly given. Not the minimum required for your basic needs to be met. Overflow. Designed for you and for the people in your sphere who will be impacted by the overflow from what I release into your life. This understanding should change how you receive. Do not receive into a closed container, receive into an open one. Do not receive with the grip of hoarding, but with the open hands of a steward who knows that what flows through them is part of a larger current. When you receive in this posture, you cooperate with the overflow design and position yourself for continued increasing provision. Comment now: I receive into an open container. I am a vessel of God's overflow provision. Write this as your declaration of alignment with the kingdom law of overflow, your commitment to receiving, yes, but also to being a channel through which the overflow of what you receive reaches others. And in the first pinned comment, the Code of Divine Inheritance, How to Activate the Abundance That Is Already Yours, contains the principles that govern this kind of overflow receiving. Go there now, receive what has been placed there for you, and consider joining the community, the membership that gives you deeper access, more consistent messages, and the fellowship of those who are walking this journey with the same seriousness and commitment you are bringing to it. Both are in the first pinned comment. Both are for you. When the breakthrough arrives, how to respond. My beloved child, I want to prepare you for the moment of breakthrough, the moment when what has been declared begins to visibly manifest in your material circumstances. Because how you respond to the arrival of breakthrough is one of the most critically important spiritual moments in the entire journey, and I want you to be ready for it. The moment of breakthrough will likely arrive with some element of surprise, not the surprise of something you could not have expected at all, since you have received these messages, but the surprise of the specific form it takes, the specific timing, the specific channel through which it comes. Even when you know a breakthrough is coming, the actual moment of its arrival tends to land with a quality of unexpected grace, a feeling of, oh, so this is how it was going to happen, that is part of the experience of encountering divine creativity. When it arrives, here is how to respond. First, stop. In the rush of life, it is easy to receive a blessing without fully receiving it, to acknowledge it briefly and immediately pivot to the next task, the next need, the next concern. Do not do this. When the breakthrough arrives, stop, even for a few minutes. Stop, look at what has arrived, and let it be real to you before you do anything with it. Second, give thanks. Before you make any decisions about what to do with the provision, before you call anyone, before you start planning, give thanks. Out loud if possible. Say, Lord, I see what you have done. I receive it as being from your hand. Thank you. Thank you for the provision, for the faithfulness, for the timing, for the specific form in which this arrived. Thank you. Gratitude in the moment of arrival is one of the most important acts of faith you can perform, because it acknowledges me as the source and opens the channel for what follows. Third, be still before you act. After gratitude, before action, be still for a moment with me. Ask, Lord, what do you want me to do with what you have just given me? How do you want me to steward this? What comes next? The instruction I give in that moment of stillness after the breakthrough will be some of the most important guidance you receive in the entire provision season. Do not skip it. Fourth, tell the story. When the breakthrough has settled and you have had time to steward it wisely, tell the story. Share with others that God provided, that the breakthrough came, that what was declared was real. Your testimony is not for you alone. It is for the person who is 3 months behind you in the process, who needs to hear that it is real, that God keeps His word, that the waiting produced what was promised. Comment now. When my breakthrough arrives, I will stop, give thanks, be still, and tell the story. Let this be your preparation declaration, the commitment to respond to the breakthrough in the way that maximizes its impact on your life and on the lives of others. It's standing firm when the manifestation is delayed. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about one of the most challenging aspects of the receiving season, the period between the declaration of a breakthrough and its full visible manifestation. This is the period that tries faith most severely, because the gap between what has been declared and what is visible can feel, if you are not spiritually prepared for it, like evidence that the declaration was false. It is not. Let me say that with all the authority of heaven behind it, a delay in the visible manifestation of a declared breakthrough is not evidence that the breakthrough is not coming. It is evidence of the time it takes for what has been established in the spiritual realm to complete the journey through the natural processes of the material world. And that journey always takes more time than the immediacy of the declaration might suggest. Consider how long a seed is underground before it breaks the surface. The planting of the seed happens in a moment. The declaration of a harvest is implicit in the very act of planting. But the time between the planting and the emergence from the soil is often long, and during that time, there is no visible evidence that anything is happening. The soil looks exactly as it did before. The ground is unchanged in appearance, and yet, beneath the surface, something extraordinary is in motion. The seed is germinating, the root is developing, the shoot is forming, all invisible, all real, all in process. The breakthrough you have declared over your life is a seed that was planted when you received these messages and aligned your faith with what I spoke. The harvest is real. The breakthrough is real. But the time between the planting and the visible emergence is part of the process, and it requires something from you that perhaps nothing else in life develops as thoroughly: the patient faith that holds steady in the absence of visible evidence. How do you hold steady? By reminding yourself, in the moments when doubt presses in, of what you know rather than what you feel. You know that God does not lie. You know that what was declared with authority. You know that your faith is connected to a provision that is real and in motion. These things you know. They are the anchor. When the feelings say, nothing is happening, the knowing says, yes it is, even though I cannot see it. You also hold steady by maintaining the practices, the morning declarations, the prayer of alignment, the expectation carried into each day that keep you in the posture of receiving rather than the posture of giving up. These practices are not optional extras during the waiting period. They are the primary mechanism by which you maintain the spiritual alignment that the provision pathway requires for complete manifestation. Comment now. I hold steady in the gap between declaration and manifestation. My faith does not require visible evidence to stand. Write this as the declaration of a person who has graduated from faith as feeling to faith as conviction, the faith that is not dependent on the immediate gratification of visible result, but that holds to what is known about the nature of the God who declared it. The testimony that will follow. My beloved child, let me paint for you a picture of something that is coming, not the breakthrough itself, which I have already described, but what comes after the breakthrough has fully manifested and settled into your life. The testimony. The testimony is the story you tell when someone asks, how did this change happen in your life? How did you go from where you were to where you are now? And the answer you give will be one of the most powerful things you ever speak, because it will carry within it the evidence of a living God who speaks into people's lives through moments like this one, who provides in ways that defy natural explanation, who honors the faith of those who hold on. The testimony will be specific. It will not be a vague, I trusted God and things got better. It will be precise. I was in a season that felt like it would never end. I received a word, I heard a declaration that something was about to change. I chose to believe it, to declare it, to act on it, even when nothing visible confirmed it for a period of time. And then, in a way that I could not have engineered, things began to shift. Provisions arrived from sources I did not expect. Doors opened that I had not knocked on. Circumstances aligned in ways that I could not attribute to my own cleverness or effort. And I know that what I had been told was real, that the God who spoke was the God who delivered, that the declaration was not empty words, it was the advance announcement of what was already written. That testimony will reach people. It will reach the person who is in the middle of their own waiting season and who desperately needs to hear that it ends, that the waiting produces what was promised, that the faithful holding on leads to the breakthrough that was declared. It will reach the skeptic who needs evidence of a God who is real and active and specific. It will reach the parent who is fighting for their child, the worker who is standing on a word about provision, the person who is one step from giving up on the promise they received. Your testimony is not just for you, it is for the entire sphere of influence your life touches, and it will echo beyond even what you can currently imagine. Carry it in advance. Even before it is fully formed, carry the expectation of the testimony you will give. Let it be part of what sustains you in the waiting. The knowledge that not only is the breakthrough coming for your own sake, but that what God does in your life in this season will become the testimony that builds someone else's faith. Comment now. My breakthrough is coming and my testimony is being written. I will tell what God did. Let this be your advanced declaration of the testimony, your commitment to both receive the breakthrough and to tell its story when the time comes. And now, my beloved child, one final time go to the first pinned comment. The gift that has been placed there, the code of divine inheritance, How to Activate the Abundance That Is Already Yours, is the practical guide for everything I have spoken in this message. Every principle, every declaration, every spiritual strategy for receiving and maintaining the breakthrough, it is there. And with it, the membership invitation, the deeper access, the community, the reserved messages, the ongoing stream of revelation for the journey. Both are there. Both are for you. Receive them. Step into the fullness of this season with everything heaven has provided. The breakthrough is real. The testimony is coming. The God who declared it is faithful, and you, my beloved, chosen, prepared child, are ready to receive and to tell what he does. Monday Dean. The covenant foundation of every financial blessing. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about something that is more foundational than any specific financial provision I have named. Something that makes every provision sustainable, every breakthrough permanent, and every abundance genuine rather than hollow. I want to speak to you about the covenant. Every financial blessing that flows from heaven into a person's life does so through a channel. That channel is not created by the right combination of prayers spoken at the right time, not by performing the right rituals or following the right formulas, not by the quantity of declarations made or the intensity of the faith expressed. The channel is covenant, the relationship established between you and me through Jesus Christ, that defines you as my child, my heir, and my instrument in the world. When I release provision into your life, I do so as a father releasing resources to a child who carries his name and participates in his purposes. This is categorically different from a generic universe responding to positive thinking, or luck favoring someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time, or a mechanical spiritual law rewarding correct behavior. This is personal. This is relational. This is the outworking of a specific, named, documented covenant between you and me, one that was sealed in blood, the blood of my Son, Jesus Christ, and that carries all the terms and guarantees of the most binding agreement that has ever existed. Understanding this changes everything about how you relate to the provision that has been declared. You are not receiving it as a reward that you earned. You are not receiving it as a lottery win that you happen to qualify for. You are receiving it as a covenant child receiving their covenant inheritance, the resources that belong to you by virtue of who your Father is and what He has said about you. This posture, the posture of a covenant heir rather than a reward seeker, is one of the most important shifts you can make in your relationship with provision. What does covenant inheritance look like in practical spiritual terms? It means that your access to provision is not contingent on your performance in any given period. A child does not lose their inheritance because they had a bad week. A child does not become less of an heir because their faith wobbled during a difficult season. The covenant is the covenant, It does not fluctuate based on the heir's daily performance. What it does require is ongoing relationship, the continued choosing of the Father, the continued walking in the ways of the household, the continued acknowledgement of the source of all provision. These are not performance requirements. They are the natural expressions of the relationship itself. You do not perform for me in order to receive. You walk with me because you love me, and in that walking, the provision flows. The enemy works very hard to get you to misunderstand this. He tries to insert a performance mentality into your relationship with provision, to make you feel that the provision is contingent on your level of faith, on whether you prayed enough today, on whether you confessed the right things, on whether you have any unaddressed sin or failure in your life. This performance mentality creates a perpetual state of anxiety and uncertainty about your standing with me, and that anxiety is one of the most effective tools he has for closing the channel of provision. Reject this. Rest in the covenant. Your access to provision is not determined by your performance today, It is determined by the covenant that was established before you were born, ratified by the blood of Christ, and sealed by the Holy Spirit who lives in you. That covenant cannot be revoked by your failures. It cannot be diminished by your doubts. It cannot be delayed by the enemy beyond what my wisdom allows. It is secure, and in its security, the provision it carries is secure too. Comment now. I rest in the covenant. My access to God's provision is sealed and secure. I receive as a covenant heir. I write this with the settled confidence of someone who has understood what covenant means, and who has chosen to stand on its foundation rather than on the shifting ground of daily performance and self-assessment. The multiplication principle, Arabru. Why one breakthrough leads to many. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about something that the breakthrough season you are entering carries with it, Arabru. A principle that, once activated, produces a momentum of provision that exceeds what any single breakthrough alone could generate. I call it the multiplication principle, and understanding it will shift how you approach the days that follow the first visible manifestation of what has been declared. The multiplication principle operates this way. When you receive the first expression of a breakthrough, Aduro, the first measurable, visible manifestation of the provision that has been declared, Aduro, and you respond to it in the ways I am about to describe, that first expression becomes a seed for the next, and the next becomes a seed for the one after. And each expression of blessing, properly received and properly stewarded, generates conditions that produce more blessing in an accelerating cycle. This is how I designed the blessing economy, not as a series of independent, isolated events. One blessing here, another much later, each standing alone, but as a compounding cycle, a snowball rolling downhill, a fire that, once properly lit, generates the heat to sustain and expand itself. Why does this work this way? Because blessing received with gratitude increases your capacity to receive. Because provision properly stewarded creates conditions for more provision. Because generosity expressed in response to blessing opens spiritual channels that cannot be opened by any other means. Because testimony given publicly about what I have done creates faith in others that then creates the spiritual atmospheric conditions for more of the same to happen, not just in your life, but in the lives of those who hear the testimony. The first thing you must do when the breakthrough arrives is receive it with the maximized gratitude I have spoken about throughout these messages. Not a polite, "Thank you, God," offered briefly before you move on. A genuine, extended, specific, public expression of gratitude. Gratitude that names what was received, names me as the source, and declares the reality of what has happened clearly and without embarrassment. This maximized gratitude is the first seed planted for the next expression of the breakthrough cycle. The second thing you must do is share the testimony. Tell someone. Not everyone, our wisdom governs who you share what with, but someone who will receive it with faith and who needs to hear it. A friend who is in a difficult season. A family member who has been doubting. Someone in your circle who needs the specific encouragement that comes from hearing that a real person they know experienced the real provision of a real God. That testimony planted in their soil produces faith, and the faith it produces returns to you in amplified form as part of the spiritual atmosphere that surrounds your ongoing breakthrough cycle. The third thing you must do is invest some of the first blessing toward the next one. I am not speaking of a specific percentage or a formula, I am speaking of the wisdom to not consume the entire first expression of provision without directing some portion of it toward the future. This might mean saving a portion. It might mean investing a portion in an opportunity that represents the next step in the calling. It might mean giving generously to someone or something in a way that plants seed for the next harvest. The specific direction is mine to give you Ayuara. But the principle of investing from the first harvest toward the next is universal. Comment now. I receive the first breakthrough and I plant it forward. I activate the multiplication cycle. And let this declaration be your commitment to engaging with the multiplication principle rather than simply consuming the first breakthrough without planting for what follows. Hearing God's voice about your finances. My beloved child, one of the most practical and powerful things you can develop in this season of financial transformation is the ability to hear my voice specifically about your finances. Not just general spiritual impressions, specific guidance about specific decisions, specific directions about specific opportunities, specific instructions about specific resources. I speak about money. I speak about investments. I speak about giving. I speak about timing, when to move, when to hold, when to act boldly, and when to wait patiently. I speak about people, who to trust with your resources and who to hold at arm's length. I speak about opportunities, which are genuinely from me and which are the enemy's counterfeits, designed to look like provision but leading to loss. My voice is available to you in all of these areas. and learning to hear it specifically about your finances is one of the most practical forms of spiritual development you can pursue. How do you cultivate this ability? Several practices. The first is bringing your financial decisions to me explicitly, not just generally. When you face a financial decision, large or small, bring it specifically to me. Not in a vague, Lord, bless my finances way, but with the specific details of the decision. The amount, the opportunity, the timing, the people involved. Say, Lord, here's the specific decision I am facing. What do you say about it? Show me your perspective. Give me clarity. Then wait, not indefinitely, but with genuine attentiveness, for the response. The response may come as a sense of peace or unease, as a thought that arrives fully formed, as a scripture that becomes suddenly relevant, as a word from someone in your life, or as a circumstance that clarifies the direction. The second practice is maintaining a financial journal. Record the specific impressions you receive when you bring financial decisions to me. Note the decisions you made in alignment with what you heard and the outcomes they produced. Note also the decisions you made against the impression you received and the outcomes of those. Over time, this journal builds a personal record of how I speak to you about money, the specific patterns, the specific channels, the specific ways my voice comes to you in this area of your life. This record becomes one of the most practically valuable spiritual resources you possess. The third practice is building the habit of gratitude as a daily financial practice, spending a few minutes every morning intentionally naming the financial provisions of the previous day and giving thanks for each one specifically. This practice trains your attention toward the evidence of my provision in your daily life, which in turn trains your ear to hear my voice in the financial realm more clearly. Gratitude opens spiritual ears. Comment now. I will bring every financial decision to God and develop my ability to hear His voice in this area. Write this as your commitment to the practice of hearing God specifically about money. The practice that makes every financial decision a spiritual act of alignment rather than a merely human calculation. The provision that is already moving toward you. My beloved child, I want to speak to you very specifically about the provision that is already in motion toward your life. Not the provision that is merely possible, not the provision that might come if the right conditions are met, but the provision that has already been dispatched, that is already in the process of its journey from the place where it was prepared to the place where you stand waiting to receive it. Think of a ship that has been loaded with cargo and sent from a distant port. The cargo has been prepared, selected, and assigned to you. The ship has been loaded. The captain has received the instructions. The departure has happened. The ship is on the water, in motion, covering the distance between the port of origin and the harbor of your life. It has not arrived yet. The journey takes time, but the arrival is certain. The cargo is real. The ship is moving. The only question is how many miles remain between where the ship is now and where your harbor is. This is the state of the provision I have declared over your life. It is not in the harbor yet or are not fully visible in your material circumstances, but it is on the water. The ship has departed. The cargo was loaded. The assignment was made. And with every day that passes, the distance between the provision and its destination decreases. What does this mean for how you wait? You do not wait with the anxiety of someone who is not sure whether the ship will ever come, who watches the horizon with fear rather than faith, who grows despondent when another day passes without a sail on the horizon. You wait as someone who knows the ship is on its way, who watches the horizon with expectant eyes, who prepares the harbor for the arrival that is certain, who organizes what will be needed for unloading and stewarding the cargo when it arrives. Prepare your harbor. This means get your practical and spiritual house in order in advance of the arrival. Make space in your life for the provision that is coming. Clear the clutter of old scarcity habits, old limiting beliefs, old patterns of management that will not serve you well in the season of abundance. Prepare your thinking. Prepare your relationships. Prepare your stewardship practices. Let the preparation of the harbor be itself an act of faith, a declaration in the material realm that you expect the ship to arrive and you are ready to receive its cargo. Watch for the early signs of approach. In the days and weeks ahead, you will begin to see signs that the ship is nearing you. early indicators that the provision is approaching the harbor of your life. These are the signs I have described throughout these messages. The shift in opportunity, the divine appointments, the unusual clarity, the peace that does not match the circumstances. When you see these signs, they are the equivalent of the ship's flag appearing on the horizon. Read you, confirmation that what you were told is real and the arrival is imminent. Comment now. The ship is on its way. My harbor is prepared. I watch with expectant faith for what is coming. Let this declaration be the posture you carry into every day of this season. Now, the faith of one who knows that the cargo is real and the arrival is certain. And the final word. Everything declared is real. My beloved child, I want to close this message with the simplest and most important declaration I can make. Everything I have declared over your life in this message is real. Not aspirational, not metaphorical, not the spiritual equivalent of positive thinking dressed in religious language. Real, actual. True in the same way that the physical world around you is true, in the same way that your own heartbeat is true, in the same way that the love you feel for the people closest to you is true. The provision is real. The breakthrough is real. The financial transformation is real. The blessing that is in motion toward your life is as real as anything you have ever touched or seen. I say this because I know the voice that will follow this message hours, the voice that says, "That was beautiful, but is it actually true? Is it really for me? Can I really expect what was described to actually happen in my specific, difficult, complicated life?" That voice is the enemy's voice, and his goal is to create distance between the truth that has been spoken and the faith that would allow it to fully manifest. Close that distance. Choose right now to accept the reality of what has been declared over the skepticism the enemy will offer. Not through forced credulity or not by telling yourself to believe something you have no basis for, but through the informed faith of someone who has heard the voice of God and recognized it. You recognized it. Something in you resonated with this message in a way that goes beyond information. That resonance is the witness of your spirit to the truth of what has been spoken. Trust it. And now, my beloved child, act on it. Do not let this message end with admiration, but not engagement. Here is what to do right now, before you move on to the next thing. First, write in the comments. Use the declarations you have been given throughout this message. Speak your faith publicly, even if only in a comment. I receive everything God has declared. My provision is real, and it is on its way. Let your comment be the public declaration that seals the private resonance of this message in your life. Second, go to the first pinned comment. Everything that has been prepared for this moment is there. The code of divine inheritance. How to activate the abundance that is already yours. This is the resource that takes the declarations of this message and gives them the practical framework to produce lasting results. It is there for you. It has been placed there specifically because this moment, the moment you finish this message, the moment you are deciding whether to act or to move on, is the moment it was designed for. Go, receive it. Third, consider the membership. In the first pinned comment, there is also an invitation, not to a subscription in the commercial sense, but to a closer walk, to access that is deeper, to messages that are reserved for those who have chosen to go beyond the surface level of casual engagement with these truths, and into the sustained, deepening relationship with the revelation I am releasing. If your heart is being drawn to go deeper, if you want the consistent companionship of these messages rather than the occasional encounter, the membership is for you. The invitation is there. Receive it. Everything declared is real. The ship is on its way. The provision is in motion. The harbor is ready. And you, the one who stopped, who stayed, who recognized the truth and chose to align with it, are standing exactly where you are supposed to stand, in exactly the right season, to receive exactly what has been prepared. Receive it. Now, it is real, and it is yours. Are the 7 dimensions of supernatural wealth. My beloved child, the provision that heaven has designed for your life is not one-dimensional. It does not consist only of money in a bank account or of specific material objects placed in your possession. The full expression of what I have prepared for you operates across 7 dimensions simultaneously. And understanding each dimension helps you recognize and receive the full scope of what has been decreed. The first dimension is material wealth or makar, the literal tangible resources, money, property, vehicles, physical items of value. This is the dimension most visible to the human eye and the dimension most commonly focused on when people pray for financial blessing. It is real and it is important. The provision I have declared includes genuine, measurable material resources. Do not spiritualize this away. When I speak of money being released, I mean actual money. When I speak of a house, I mean an actual house. When I speak of a vehicle, I mean an actual vehicle. Material provision is holy and it is real. The second dimension is opportunity wealth, the access to opportunities that translate into material provision over time. A door opened, a connection made, a contract awarded, a business relationship established, a skill recognized and valued, an idea receiving the backing it needs to become something real. Opportunity wealth is often the precursor to material wealth, the pathway through which material resources flow. In this season, I am not only releasing material provision, I am releasing the opportunities that generate material provision continuously and sustainably. Watch for the doors that are about to open. They are part of the provision package. The third dimension is wisdom wealth, the specific insight and discernment that, when applied to your circumstances, multiplies whatever material resources you possess. A person with wisdom wealth knows which opportunities to pursue and which to decline. They know when to move and when to hold. They know how to manage, invest, and grow what they receive. They recognize the enemy's financial counterfeits for what they are. Wisdom wealth is, in many ways, more valuable than any specific quantity of material resources, because a person with genuine wisdom can take a small beginning and build it into great abundance, while a person without wisdom can receive a great sum and reduce it to nothing. In this season, wisdom wealth is flowing alongside material provision. Receive it. Apply it. The fourth dimension is relational wealth, the people who become part of your life in this season and who carry resources, opportunities, and access that your own network does not presently possess. I am sending relationships some entirely new, some deepening of existing connections that will function as significant channels of provision. The person you meet at the unexpected moment. The conversation that opens a door you did not know existed. The friendship that becomes a business partnership. The mentor who appears at precisely the right time. These are not coincidences. They are provisions. The fifth dimension is health wealth. The physical strength and vitality that allows you to fully inhabit the season of abundance that is opening. Financial provision paired with deteriorating health is incomplete provision. A table set with abundant food but a person too ill to eat. In this season, I am releasing provision that includes the health, the energy, the physical and mental clarity needed to fully participate in everything the abundance season offers. Receive healing. Receive strength. Receive the renewal of your physical capacity to inhabit the fullness of what is coming. The sixth dimension is peace wealth, the deep, unshakable interior peace that cannot be purchased by any material resource. This is the peace that allows you to hold abundance without being distorted by it. The peace that allows you to be generous because you are not gripped by fear of lack. The peace that makes you a stable presence for others even as your circumstances are dramatically shifting. Peace wealth is the quality that makes every other form of wealth sustainable and genuinely satisfying. Without it, material wealth creates anxiety. With it, material wealth is simply a resource in the hands of a grounded, purposeful person. The seventh dimension is legacy wealth, the provision that does not end with you but flows through you into the generations that follow. The decisions you make in this season, the values you establish, the patterns of generosity and stewardship you set in motion, these become the inheritance of those who come after you. I am declaring breakthrough not only for your lifetime but for the generations that bear your name and carry your legacy. The financial transformation I am releasing in your life is designed to be a watershed moment, the moment when everything shifts, not just for you, but for your family line going forward. Comment now. I receive provision in all 7 dimensions. Material wealth, opportunity, wisdom, relationships, health, peace, and legacy. I am ready. Let this declaration be your full spectrum reception, an open arms welcome to the complete package of provision that has been declared over your life. Standing firm. When the evidence delays. My beloved child, one of the most important skills you will need in this season is not the skill of declaring your faith when things are going well. It is the skill of standing firm in that faith when the evidence has not yet caught up with the declaration. This is where many people lose what was prepared for them. Not in the moments of clear discouragement, but in the quiet, undramatic days when nothing seems to be happening and the declarations feel increasingly distant from reality. The enemy knows this is your most vulnerable moment, not the dramatic crisis. You are often most focused and most spiritually alert in a crisis. Your most vulnerable moment is the long middle period, where the urgency of the initial declaration has faded, no visible manifestation has appeared, and the voice of reasonable doubt begins to sound more compelling than the voice of faith. Here is what you need to know about that moment. It is precisely where the breakthrough is being tested, not to see if you deserve it, but to see if you will steward it. The breakthrough that comes without any waiting, without any sustained faith, without any testing. That breakthrough can be lost just as easily as it was gained, because nothing was developed in you through the process of receiving it. The breakthrough that you stood for, that you held on to through the long middle when nothing visible confirmed it, that breakthrough comes with the built-in sustainability of a faith that has been proven. You will not lose what cost you something to receive. Understand also that the delay between declaration and manifestation is often itself a form of provision. The time I use to prepare what needs to be prepared before the blessing lands. A harvest cannot be received before the ground is ready. A building cannot be occupied before the foundation is complete. A sum of money cannot be managed wisely before the wisdom to manage it has been developed. The waiting period is often the preparation period, the time in which I am aligning, building, arranging, and equipping everything that needs to be in place for the blessing to land and stay. What do you do in the waiting? You do exactly what you have been doing when the declarations felt fresh and urgent. You speak the truth aloud. You maintain the posture of expectation. You continue to act in alignment with what has been declared rather than in reaction to what appears to be the case. You do not slow down your gratitude because there is nothing visible yet to be grateful for. You accelerate your gratitude because gratitude in the absence of visible evidence is the most powerful form of faith. And you keep your eyes open for the first signs. They will come before the full manifestation. The early indicators, the small confirmations, the moments of unusual synchronicity that signal the ship is nearing the harbor. When you see them, do not dismiss them as coincidences. Receive them for what they are, the first visible evidence of what has been moving in the invisible, the first light of a dawn that is fully, completely on its way. Comment now, I will stand firm through the waiting. I will not give up before the breakthrough arrives. I hold on. Write this with the determination of someone who has looked at the track record of God's faithfulness and chosen it over the voice of delay. The gift, prepared for this moment. My beloved child, before you close this message, I want to draw your attention to something that has been placed specifically for you in the first pinned comment. Not as a commercial offering, not as a product to evaluate, as a gift is yours, prepared in advance, placed at precisely the right moment, designed for exactly the season you are stepping into. It is called the Code of Divine Inheritance. In it you will find the practical framework for everything that has been declared over you in this message. The principles of covenant reception, the dimensions of supernatural wealth, the practices of financial hearing and alignment, the wisdom for stewarding abundance once it arrives. Everything spoken in this message, given its practical legs, the specific actionable framework for living in the reality of what has been declared rather than simply hearing it once and moving on. This was not written as theory. It was written as a field guide. A resource you return to, apply, and build your life on. Every person who has implemented its principles has testified to the same thing. The breakthrough accelerated. The awareness sharpened. The provision began arriving through channels they had not anticipated. Not because the book is magic, because the principles in it are real, and when real principles are understood and applied, real results follow. Go to the first pinned comment. It is there for you. Take it. This is your moment, and the resource was placed here because this moment is exactly when you need it. And if your heart is being drawn to go deeper still, to the sustained, ongoing companionship of these messages rather than the occasional encounter. EUO. The membership invitation is also in that first pinned comment. It is not an upgrade to a service. It is an invitation into deeper intimacy with the revelation I am releasing in this season. The messages there are not summaries. They are not lighter versions of what is spoken here. They are the deeper waters, Oro, the reservoirs of revelation that are reserved for those who have chosen to go beyond the surface and into the depth. If you feel the pull, follow it. The invitation is open. The deeper waters are waiting. One final word before you go. My beloved child, you have sat with this message long enough to know that what has been spoken here is not ordinary content. Something in you recognized the voice. Something in you responded to the truth. Something in you, the deepest part, the part that the noise of daily life drowns out when you are not paying attention, was moved. That movement is not accidental. It is not the result of compelling presentation or emotional manipulation. It is the response of a spirit that recognizes truth when it hears it, because truth carries a resonance that nothing false can replicate. A specific frequency that the human spirit, made in the image of the one who is truth, cannot mistake when it encounters it honestly. You encountered it honestly today. And that encounter carries a responsibility, Abraham. Not an obligation, not a burden, but a responsibility in the highest sense. The call to respond to what you have been given, to not let this moment pass without allowing it to produce what it was sent to produce in your life. The response is simple. Comment below. Speak your faith publicly, even if only in a single line. Even if only. I receive it, I believe it, I declare it. That declaration, made in this public space at this specific moment, is an act of spiritual courage that will return to you multiplied. Then go to the first pinned comment. Everything that was prepared for this moment is there, Aru, the resource that takes what you received in this message and gives it the practical structure to produce lasting change rather than temporary inspiration. It is there. It is yours. Receive it now. And if, as you do, you feel the stirring toward something more, Azar, the desire for ongoing depth rather than occasional encounter, for sustained revelation rather than sporadic encounter, Aro, the membership invitation is there too. It is an open door. Walk through it if you are being drawn. The deeper waters are real. They are ready, and they are for you. Barunatham, turn a final blessing declared over you. My beloved child, as this message closes, receive this final declaration spoken directly over your life. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not the exception to the promises of God. You are the very person this message was prepared for, the one whose name was known before the message was ever recorded, whose situation was accounted for in the specific words that were chosen, whose breakthrough was already decreed before you pressed play. Everything spoken here was spoken for you. Everything declared here stands over your life with the full authority of the one who spoke it. Go now in the full assurance of what has been given to you today. The provision is real. The assignment is live. The Father who loves you beyond any love you have ever experienced has spoken, and what He speaks, He performs. Receive it, declare it, walk in it. It is yours.